launch into that, I'm going to speak to you all as though you haven't joined an event before. So if you've seen some of these slides, welcome back. If you've never seen these slides before and don't know who we are, welcome for the first time. We are the SDN, the Service Design Network New York chapter. And if you haven't heard of the Service Design organization, the whole network, it's a global organization. They offer an editorial, a journal, a printed thing. You can also download it. They have events every year. There's a global conference that they've moved to next year, given the current events. They have these local chapters that host events. A lot of the chapters are actually doing events online, so you can attend any of the events that are happening. They have event discounts. They have some classes that they teach. They have case studies and libraries, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that the Service Design Network offers, and we are just a chapter in that larger ecosystem of different offerings. So we typically host events once a month, and we're working on that now, given how everything is going. We're still trying to do at least one event a month. We're not necessarily ramping up. Right now, we know there's a lot happening, a lot going on for everyone personally, and or there's a lot of noise of other events happening. So we're trying to just keep steady with our course of one event a month, and this is our monthly event. So I will launch into a couple more slides here. Just some housekeeping. This is our first event with breakout rooms. If you guys haven't participated in an event with breakout rooms, that might be a little bit jarring at first. There's a little bit of time or delay as you're put into the rooms. So imagine you're just taking a walk into a smaller or different room. So be patient with us through that. We have some folks here from Humor That Works. They're going to give their introductions and go through a few slides. Really excited to have them here. Vandad's here. I didn't see if Drew joined, but if he pops in, that's wonderful too. But yeah, they're helping us bring some more interactivity through this first breakout room session. And we hope to have more interactive events. When we were in person, it was great for us. That was really the way that we prefer to have events, is making them super interactive and group activities. So this is us trying to get back into that as we all move online. And Service Design Day, that is a global day to celebrate service design. It happens on June 1st, and we're doing a couple events around that. Dates are still tentative. We do have content that's coming, but we haven't locked in a specific date. We're working with two different external groups unrelated to the Service Design Network. One is the Emergency Design Collective, and they're a group that formed out of San Francisco, but they have collected a lot of different designers and different disciplines from across the nation and other, I think even potentially past that. And they're working on specific projects to help during this time. And that's pretty broad, but they have a lot on their website. It's the EDC, or Emergency Design Collective group. And then Human's Diary, which is a small project started by two friends of ours in Milan, Italy, is a weekly Sunday session that they host. They bring individuals from different parts of the world and share their experiences. And we're going to be doing some collaborative work with them in revealing some of the insights that they're starting to uncover, and potentially some brainstorming sessions and more interactive events from that. So there are two main groups that we're going to be giving a platform to share their ideas and their voice about how they're contributing during this time, and trying to help out in some way. So I would look them up. Human's Diary has a Medium, just started an Instagram, and EDC has a website and a lot of different social media platforms or places you can find them. And we always say this for our events, please give this a rating. We'd love to know what you thought of this. It helps us figure out what we can do more of, what we should do less of. Vandad can also see, and he can take that into consideration for Humor That Works. But this will show up to you, I believe, in an email after the event. You can give us a rating, a star rating, and then say why you gave us that rating. I'll pause there to see if Antonio or Kathleen want to add anything about SDN. Otherwise, I can hand it over to Vandad.
I think you said, oh, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to steal more time.
All right.
So yeah.
Well said.
we covered all the things. So yeah, now Vandad, I'll hand the mic over to you. Let me know if you want me to switch slides, but feel free to jump right in. We met through actually the Brooklyn Product Design meetup. I don't know, Sam's here, right? All right, I think Sam's here. But thank you, Sam, for her and a few individuals who also might be on here. I'm not quite sure, sorry, I'm hosting, so I can't see. But thank you for Brooklyn Product Design for connecting me and Vandad. We had a great conversation that launched into talking to him about how he could come and run these activities with us. So really excited to have him here. Take it away.
Thanks. Can everyone hear me? Maybe give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Awesome. Hey, everybody. By everybody, I mean you folks. I mean everybody on this Zoom call, or everybody who found the Humor That Works and service design needle in the internet haystack and clicked on this Zoom link. Really, I should not say everybody, because most people are not here. Most people are not here by a huge majority. Like, most people are in India and China, actually. Now, I don't know how to start Zoom calls, so.
Also, if you find something funny, you can be off mute if you're not doing something loud and obnoxious, and you can feel free to laugh. I know I will, so get ready to get used to my laugh. Or Kathleen's, either one.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know how to start Zoom calls. It's a weird time. But I'm definitely a Zoom narcissist, though. I just like look at my own video the entire meeting. Like, I'm making sure my luscious hair looks nice. Like, I've got the gallery view on, but like, I'm not looking at anyone else really. I'm just looking at myself. And here's the art that I overpaid for, right back there. So yeah, the comedy career is going great. I'm performing for free for strangers on the internet in an empty apartment. Netflix special, here I come. I also do shows in empty elevators and stairwells, if you're interested. So yeah, as Natalie mentioned, I work for a company called Humor That Works. We're a big company. We are 3 people. And we are a training company. So we train people and organizations to use humor strategically to get better results, to use humor to enjoy your work more, and to use humor to spark creativity often as well. So we run training programs on leadership, communications, networking, creativity. Today's training is on communications. So it's on mastering office communication, AKA effective or talking. The way we see it is that audiences are often bored, distracted, tired, and or stressed. So using humor in your communication gets people to pay attention to your message. Humor makes your message memorable, and it's fun. So that's our point of view. My story is that I've always been obsessed with efficiency. I used to work as a management consultant, so I used to turn every client problem into like an efficient process flow map or a 2x2 matrix. I was making the world a better place, one Excel spreadsheet at a time. I'm sure you guys can relate. I used to use consulting jargon like 20,000 foot view, boil the ocean, and bandwidth, which means how much time you say you have to do your job. So when you had no more bandwidth, I used efficient acronyms like PIP, Process Improvement Program, MISI, Mutually Exclusive, Collectively Exhaustive, and DIA, Drowning in Acronyms. Work was pretty much just like group project after group project. I used to say it's more efficient if I just did it myself, right? Group work was not efficient. My group members kept letting me down. Made me think like when I die, I want my group members to lower my casket so they can let me down one more time. The obsession with efficiency leaked into all aspects of my life. I traveled a ton for work, so I was even efficient with my time at the airport. My goal was to spend as little time as possible at the airport. So I was trying to shave minutes off every week. It became a game I played with my coworkers. First, I switched my carry-on bag for a backpack. Then I switched my belt for no belt. Then I stopped showering, so I had no toiletries. I was so confident.
You can laugh. Maybe not though. Sorry. I'm glad you're not showering.
I shower now. I appreciate the interaction. It's all good. Yeah, I was so confident in my efficiency skills that I even got a haircut before a flight once. And then I missed that flight. Yeah, so one day when I was working as a consultant, I started taking some improv comedy classes, and that's when my mindset really shifted. As I did more and more improv, I learned the difference between being efficient and being effective, because there's a difference between being efficient and being effective, right? We can be efficient with spreadsheets and matrices and airports, obviously, but you can't be efficient with humans, right? You have to be effective with humans. So over time, I realized that also the same skills you need to be an effective improviser are the same skills you need to be an effective communicator, right? Because when you improvise, you're using a little bit of humor. That's a great tool to communicate. So that's what today's workshop is going to be about. It's going to be a communications workshop using applied improv. So by show of hands, has anyone here ever taken an improv class? Like, put your hands up a little bit. Anyone? All right, we got a couple people. For those of you who have not done improv, there's nothing to worry about. We're not going to do anything weird like trust falls. We can't even do that. There's not going to be any virtual touching. It's just going to be taking the ideas and concepts from improv and applying them to communications. So yeah, it's just going to take the ideas and concepts from improv and applying them to communications. Your leads have brought me in today. So Natalie and Kathleen and Antonio, they brought me in today because we are going to learn some new ideas and we're going to have some fun. So let's give a little shout out to your leads, a little like round of applause for service design people. It's great leadership, actually, especially considering the current standard for leadership is just to not drink bleach. So great leadership on your part. You're definitely above average. So yeah, I know when you hear the word like fun, you're like, oh great, like mandatory fun, the best kind of fun. But it's actually a pretty fun workshop. So we're gonna do 5 interactive exercises. We're gonna do 5 interactive exercises using breakout rooms. And then we're gonna have a little debrief and discussion afterwards. I have no slides. This is my only slide, like this slide right here. So I'm not gonna bore you with slides. All that I ask from you is your participation. All that I ask from you is to participate and kind of interact, get to know some of the other people on the meetup, and to be on the lookout for one idea. Be on the lookout for one idea, one concept, one thing related to communication that you will use tomorrow, that you'll use going forward in your work. And then we're gonna come back to that at the end of the workshop. Okay, so just be on the lookout for one idea. Cool. All right, so yeah, obviously this is a little bit different because we're doing it virtually. So we're gonna use the chat and the breakout rooms just to kind of get people involved. So in the chat, if people could just type in what they had for breakfast this morning. So we already got where you're calling it from, what your job is. Type in the chat, what did you have for breakfast this morning? All right.
Such variety. Well done, everyone.
Let's see what we got here. Squash soup. I like that. Awesome. Great variety.
Leftovers. I love it.
Awesome. Okay. Amazing. Now, the next, so we're just gonna like slowly move up. I don't want anyone to get like intimidated. I'm not just gonna like throw you into improv. We're gonna slowly move our way up. So, all right. So the next thing, if people could just type in the chat, the first thing they remember buying with their own money. So the first thing you remember buying with your own money, I will say the first thing I bought my own money was a Christina Aguilera CD, Genie in the Bottle. Because A, it's arguably one of the best CDs ever. I believe she has an amazing voice and she stood the test of time. And B, I grew up in Canada, so we only got like tidbits of American culture. So like my hometown got the tidbit of Christina Aguilera. So yeah, just to kind of get the creative juices flowing. All right, so watch, Candy, the Good Burger soundtrack, love it. Early VR headset, bunny shaped sponge, amazing. Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna use the chat a little bit today, and then the next thing we're gonna utilize is our videos. So we're gonna play a little game, one more warm-up game called Keep Your Video On If. All right, so we're gonna do one more warm-up game called Keep Your Video On If. The way this game works is that you are going to keep your video on if the answer to my questions is yes. All right, so I'm gonna ask a question. If it's true in your case, you're gonna keep your video on. If it's not true, you can take your video off. All right? So first question, keep your video on if you showered today. So keep your video on if you showered today. I actually did shower. I shower now. Okay, cool, cool. All right, Natalie, are you're watching here, right? And I'm giving you some great data right now of just like people in your
How clean is everyone? No judgment.
Yeah, I'm giving you some great data. All right, next, keep your video on if you've gotten a haircut at home recently. If you've been able to get a haircut at home.
Does dyeing your hair count?
Yeah, that counts. Yeah, it counts. We'll be inclusive. All right, some people are dropping. All right, we got some, oh good, some haircut people. All right, great, great. Lastly, keep your video on if you have not checked social media today. Keep your video on if you have not checked any social media today. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all of them.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I wish I couldn't.
All right. So
Guys, be honest.
Kathleen doesn't believe it. Liars.
I like this question because it shows me which people won't get distracted, you know? And so, Natalie, you know, if we have long events, these people will be attending them and they will be listening. Awesome. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of taste in that warm up, we're doing a communications workshop, right? We're talking about communications, communicating at work, and communications is more broad than the words we say, right? So communications is broader than the words we say, and especially in the world we live in now, there's different ways of communicating, right? Like we are all just communicating right now. So at the core of communication is the exchange of an idea. It's an exchange of an idea between two or more people, parties. So between like people and computers, people and pets, people and objects, people and art, right? It's an exchange of an idea between two or more parties. There's always verbal and nonverbal communication, right? So there's like body language, and then there's also verbal communication. And the last aspect of communication is that there's always a sender and a receiver, right? So there's always a sender and a receiver. To be an effective communicator, right? To be an effective communicator, we have to be good at sending and receiving, right? So I'm sure we can think of certain people that just like send information all day, but they're never actually receiving it, right? So an effective communicator receives information well as well. So that's where we're gonna start today. We're gonna do our first interactive exercise. Shout out to the first breakout room for service design room, I guess.
Yeah. First ever.
First ever, yeah. What we're gonna do is it's gonna be an exercise on the idea of receiving information and listening, all right? So I'm just gonna type out the instructions, put them in the chat so people have them. So you don't have to worry. I'll type them all out right now, and then I'll also walk through them. So in this next exercise, okay, so Natalie's gonna send you off into breakout rooms of 2 people, and then in your breakout rooms, between the 2 of you, figure out whose name is first in the alphabet. Figure out whose name is first in the alphabet, and that person's gonna go first, all right? So that person's gonna go first, and what they're going to do is they're just gonna talk about something they're doing this weekend. They're just gonna talk about something they're doing this weekend. So they might say, this weekend I'm performing in an improv show, right? This weekend I'm performing in an improv show. The other person is gonna respond to that statement, but their response has to begin with the last letter of the last word that was said. So their response has to begin with the last letter of the last word that was said. So they might say, if I said, this weekend I'm performing in an improv show, that ends in the letter W, right? So they might say, wow, you must be really funny, which ends in the letter why? So I would say, you bet I am. And they would say, Ma, you're pretty arrogant. Okay, so you're going to alternate back and forth, each person responding with the last letter, the last word that was said going forward. So a few ground rules, a few guidelines. It's still meant to be an actual conversation, right? It's not just random lines of dialogue. And it's totally fine to take a second to pause and think of a filler word if you need a second before you start your response. So yeah, I think the instructions should stay in the chat when we go into the breakout rooms. But is there any questions? Anyone have any questions, thoughts, feelings?
How long will we be in the breakout room?
We'll be in the breakout room for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. I'm making sure that everyone has a partner, so if you drop now, you're going to ruin it for everyone.
If you drop now, we'll keep Samantha in a breakout room for 10 minutes.
All right, I'm seeing one. I need to organize one person here. I think we've done it. We don't. Sorry, 1 minute. Take some deep breaths. Think about your day, and think about something that made you smile, and focus on that. We have an uneven amount of people. Is it okay if there's one group of 3?
3 people in a breakout room.
Okay, we're going to put one group of 3, and then we've done it. So, all right, it's going to take just a couple seconds to load, so don't be too scared. I'm going to open all the rooms now, and you're going to go into a room with a partner, and we're going to do the activity. Does anyone have questions? You can put it in the chat. Great. Goodbye. Hey, I'm in your room. Just ignore me. Oh, or we can play. Hello, you're on mute.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you? It's so good to see you again.
Good. Yeah, good to see you too. I think, let's see. We had a third person here, but let's play. Oh, they're doing stuff over there. I'm going to just tell them. All right, so let's play the game. So what do we say? I was trying to make the breakout rooms while that was happening. So you say something and then I pick up with the last letter?
Yes, but the way we start is we see whoever, so your name is Natalie, so N-A-T-T is before me, so yeah, you go first.
All right, so I just say a statement?
What are you going to do this weekend?
Sleep.
P. Please elaborate.
E. Excellent question. I will close my eyes.
Sounds elaborate enough.
I always thought it ended with an F. Enough ends with an H, right?
Yes.
Hopefully, I will enjoy it.
T.
All right, the 2 minutes is up, so I'm going to close this though. But you have 15 seconds to process this. We tried.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. People are coming back. Did everyone figure out that they were on mute and learn how to unmute themselves in the pair?
Uh-huh.
Wow, this is exciting. Maybe other people have done breakout rooms before, but this is my first. I love it. Did everyone get a partner? Was anybody left alone? Because I can.
3 of us, so.
Oh yeah, well, that was intentional.
I'm also not participating, but then I end up participating, so.
Besides the people who organized this, was anybody else alone? I think I got everyone. And thank you for the congrats.
Thank you. Clapping.
That was really cool. Go on these breakout rooms.
Yeah, this is a new way of living.
Multi-layer, multi-channel.
There. Thank you.
Oh.
Hear me?
Yes.
Good? All right, awesome. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad everyone made it back, you know.
Me
Everyone
too.
survived. So I guess for the people that were in the breakout rooms, how did that exercise feel? Why don't you type it in the chat? How did that exercise feel? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it dumb? Was it fun? How did it feel?
Vandad, I think your video is off, by the way.
It is.
Oh, now
You
it's
might
back.
be on a
Now it's
different
back.
page. We have 2 pages of
Yeah.
people. FYI.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we good though? Everyone can hear me and my video is good? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we're seeing, like, people thought it was like awkward, fun, but awkward. It was fun, interesting, made me listen a little bit more carefully. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit slow, right? So this, this exercise is a little bit different, right? It kind of gets us thinking a little bit more. Now, next question I wanted to ask is, how would you say this is different than normal conversation? How is this exercise different than normal conversation? You can type it in the chat, or if you want, you can even speak if people are so courageous. So you got more constraints, you have to listen more, have to think before you speak. Yeah, exactly. So I asked this exact same question at another one of our workshops. We ran a workshop for ESPN for a room full of marketing managers. You know, you think like marketing managers, like good communicators, right? So we did this exercise and I asked them the exact same question. I was like, okay, so how is this different than normal conversation? And the most senior man in the room raised his hand and he was like, oh, because in this exercise, you actually have to listen. I was like, oh, damn. Like, ESPN's an awesome company, but note to self, like, don't ever work there. But it's so true. Like, so often normal conversation, we're listening to respond as opposed to listening to understand, right? There's a difference between listening to respond and listening to understand. In this exercise, because we have to wait for that last letter, it forces us to listen to everything they've said. We have to receive all the information from the other person before we start our response, right? So we have to listen to everything they've said before we start our response. So it forces us to listen to understand, and it forces us to not start our response until they finish talking, right? Like, it might have been tempting to like interject or something like that, right? But we can't do that. So if you think of normal conversation, when we start talking with someone, normally, like, we just listen long enough to form a response, right? Like, let's say someone starts talking to us. While they're still talking, we probably figure out what they're talking about. We're like, oh, they're talking about the Knicks. While they're still talking, we probably think of a response. We're like, oh, they're saying the Knicks are going to make the playoffs when sports used to exist. No, they're not going to make the playoffs, right? And then again, while they're still talking, we probably start daydreaming. And these are all things we do while they're still talking, as opposed to just listening, right? So an effective communicator listens to understand as opposed to listens to respond, and really tries to listen to the entire message. If you've read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it says to seek first to understand before being understood, right? So it's a very important quality to try to listen to someone intently. Cool. Now, this is also not to say this is how you should always communicate, because that would be weird. But it is a fun thing to do if you're on a Zoom call and not tell other people you're doing it. So the next time you have a work meeting, feel free to do this to spice up your work meeting, and the other people don't even have to know you're doing it. Awesome. Any other thoughts, feelings, questions? Natalie, anything?
So many feelings unrelated to this. No, I think this is great. I'm just mostly excited that the breakout rooms worked. I'm clearly a noob at these things. So all good.
Yeah. Oh, you're a pro. I would just.
I don't know, but thank you.
I would project that confidence. We're going to get to that. It's actually another one of our exercises. Okay, so now we're going to go into our next exercise. All right, I'm going to type in the instructions in the chat again so people have it. This exercise here, when we send you out into your breakout rooms, between the two of you, you're going to figure out who woke up earlier this morning. Okay, you're going to figure out who woke up earlier this morning, and that person's going to go first. Okay. The person who woke up earlier this morning, that person is going to be human number one, all right? So the person who woke up earlier this morning, what they are going to do is they're just going to explain what a microwave is to the other person, okay? They're going to explain what a microwave is to the other person. Everyone knows what a microwave is, right? Like people give me a thumbs up or a nod. Yeah, everyone knows what a microwave is. Good, all right. I did this workshop for a British audience once, and they were like, "Do you mean microwave oven?" I was like, yes. Like, congratulations, you invented the language. All right, so everyone here knows what a microwave is. Good. So the person who woke up earlier this morning, you are going to explain what a microwave is to the other person. The small detail is that the other person is a cave person. Okay. The other person is a caveman or cave woman from the cave people era, thousands of years ago. All right. So when you're just the cave person is just trying to understand what a microwave is and why is it in their life. Okay. So there's a few guidelines. The cave person speaks English. All right. And they speak in like semi-full sentences. So, you can use this chance to like embody your full cave person. If you really want to like let out your acting side, that's totally fine. Just try to like speak in semi-full sentences as well. And the cave person, they understand, like to give you a sense of their vocabulary, they understand words like cave, rock, fire, and you can go up from those words. Like they know some more difficult words too, but just, they don't know words like electricity and magic, okay? So don't go to those like top shelf words like electricity and magic. Don't use those words. So yeah, don't call it a magic box. That's cheating. But try to explain what a microwave is to the other person, and the other person is a cave person. Any questions, thoughts, feelings?
We have some comments in the chat here. Charades versus no charades.
Yeah, you can use charades. You can be as creative as you like.
All right. Okay, are you guys ready for your next breakout room? It'll be the same person or people.
Oh, actually, you can switch that up. You can recreate rooms.
Oh, do you want me to recreate it? Okay, here, recreate.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this. Okay, everyone's in too. I bet everyone has a great time watching me try to do math. That's pretty exciting. When I recreate them, it puts all the organizers in a room, so you guys are gonna play. Too bad. All right, opening the room. Goodbye.
Hi, Natalie. It's just me, you and I.
Hello.
It's
I'm
Pauline.
excited. I'm excited to chat. Hello. I'm making sure I'm not accidentally in two rooms. I actually am. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be interesting. One moment. I don't want to turn on an echo. I'll play with both. 1 second. Hello. Let's see.
I am still here.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm in two rooms. Are you able to unmute and play, or should I go?
Where should I be
Hey, do you want to go
clicking on?
first in explaining a microwave? I realize now I'm in two rooms. Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you just fine. Sorry, it's yes. How
Do you want me to log out?
I'm okay. I accidentally put myself into two rooms, so I'm trying to figure out what to do about that.
Actually, can you repost this link you mentioned about EDS and another resource you mentioned in the beginning? Remember, you mentioned something.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. One moment. I'm just going to put you on mute for a sec.
I am late, but it's happy to see your face.
I know. Can you hear me if I'm talking to both of you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can hear the other woman speaking.
Oh, really? So it's all three of us. I'm so sorry. Let me see if I can fix this, actually.
Should I log out?
No. Don't need to do that. Let me see. Assign to. I'm gonna put someone in a room. This is gonna freak someone out. That's okay. Are you still there? Hey, sorry about that. I'm having a little bit of a technical issue since I'm in two rooms. Do you want me to describe a microwave to you, or do you want to talk about what a microwave is?
A microwave, I don't know. So you, okay. Sorry,
Yeah, I think I actually have to close the room, so I'm sorry that I've ruined this, but it's really good to see you.
Everything. I was just very interested in those things.
I can definitely share the links at the end. I'll do that at the end.
Overall, how have you been? How are you doing?
I'm okay. We got to go back to the big room.
Let's do that.
Sorry.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right. I messed it up. I was in two rooms. So
Oh wow.
So that's
And you put me.
I made a mistake.
Room, I told you not to put in, like I was
You told me you didn't
multitasking.
teach me how to use this. I don't know how to do this. Anyway, I'm gonna try to fix that while you guys carry on and talk about the next activity and reflect in the chat.
Oh, is it bad?
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
here we go.
back.
Okay.
Natalie, you're doing a great job. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, this is really great.
Everyone's
Everyone give
back.
her a round of applause.
Okay.
No need.
So, what I would love to hear now from my cave people, who wants to describe what a microwave is? Who wants to describe? You can just unmute yourselves and describe what were the microwave definitions.
Box that makes food hot.
Box makes food hot. Perfect. What else? What else we got?
Hot food eat.
Awesome. Anything else?
A box with fire.
A box with fire. Great.
Spinning circle rock.
A space for food.
Awesome. Anyone else want to share their definition?
I didn't do anything as simple as that. I tried to get into like how molecules get heated.
Wow.
Wow.
It's a very granular, like service design like answer. It's very detail oriented. Awesome. Okay, so now for the people that were describing what the microwave was to the cave person, what strategies did you use? What strategies did you use? Did you connect it to anything? Did you use charades? Like, anyone want to share the strategies they used?
I asked my partner how he cooks food today, and he said fire. I said then there's a fire inside the box. Anyways.
Yeah, that works. So it's like a small box with a fire. Great. Anyone else use any other strategies?
I got the but said it was a box that you put the food in, then got hung up on like trying to think of how they could understand you push buttons for 30 seconds, or then it was like, well, it's like sunlight makes things hot, and then I got lost.
That's good. That's good though, right? Like it's a box that uses sunlight, connecting it to something they already know. Great. Yeah, so did anyone by chance like start with a question? Did anyone start with like, do you know what a box is? Do you know what fire is? And kind of build up from there? Yeah, so in the future, if you're hypothetically speaking to another cave person, that is a great strategy to use to start with a question, kind of figure out their base level of knowledge, and then move up from there. So yeah, you're probably thinking, why is Vandad getting us to do this silly exercise, right? But this exercise is a great way to describe the two key things about communication. So the two key takeaways of communication is that effective communication is relevant and relatable. So effective communication is relevant and relatable. So first, let's talk about relevant, right? Think of what the world is like now. Like, think of how many text messages we get on a daily basis. Think of how many Slacks we get on a daily basis. We spend like the majority of our time in some form of communication, right? Like they estimate around 80% of our time we spend in some form of communication. So when we are communicating with someone else, we have to make the message relevant to them. So I'm not saying like grab their attention. I'm saying make the message relevant to them. So specifically, you can be like, hey, cave person, remember last week when you ate that raw woolly mammoth and then half your family died? Well, this small box with a fire in it would prevent that, right? Make your communication relevant to the person you're speaking to. Let's say amongst the audience right now, there's some like software developers, right? And you put together a bunch of code and you do like hundreds and hundreds of lines of code, and then you're presenting that to someone, right? You're presenting that to like your peers, investors, whatever. You can be like, well, we put together all these lines of code, but like these are the 5 lines relevant to this audience right now. These are the 5 lines of code relevant to this group right now, right? So effective communication is relevant to the receiver. And effective communication is also relatable, right? So we relate it to simpler things. We break it down to simpler terms so it's easier to understand. I think the best way to describe this is, does anyone here know what a euphonium is? Does anyone know what a euphonium is? You can type it in the chat. You can shout it out. Anyone? It is an instrument. Bianca is right in the chat. Anyone else have any ideas?
Barry says it's a horn.
It's a horn. Close. All right. So I could describe a euphonium to you as a brass-based instrument. Exactly. Yeah. Amy's got it. So I could describe a euphonium to you as like a brass-based instrument that has a baritone sound, has a horn, often used in marching bands, or I can describe it to you as a small tuba. And then if you know what a tuba is, you instantly know what a euphonium is, right? This communication strategy, relating it to something they already know, is used all the time when companies are pitching to investors, right? It's like a blank. So like when a company is pitching to an investor, they're like, our company is the Uber of this industry. Our company is the Airbnb of this industry, right? So we compare it to something they already know, and we break it down to simpler things. And then as a bonus, effective communication becomes even better if you use humor. So by show of hands, like how many people laugh during this exercise? Just like raise your hands. How many people laugh during this exercise? Yeah, so the majority of us laugh during this exercise, right? And if you notice, there was no punchlines. There was no pressure to come up with a joke, right? There was no stand-up comedy routine. It was just thinking a little bit differently, right? So like as you're going through your work, when you have to communicate an important message, if you just play with that a little bit, maybe like involve a little bit of fun or play, or try to make the audience smile as they're digesting that message, they're more likely to remember that message. That's the main reason why we started our company, Humor That Works, is because we felt like humor is a great tool to make your message more memorable. And if we look back on things we remember from our time in university and work, it's normally going to be times we laugh, right? So feel free to use this sort of exercise when you're at work. Like say if you're in a tough meeting, you can be like, all right, just explain that to me as if I'm a cave person. Like just explain that, like, you know, back to me. And yeah, then hopefully you can see that humor is broader than comedy, right? So as long as you're playing or doing something new, then that can get the mind making different connections. Any thoughts, feelings, questions? Hey, Natalie, it's your favorite time when you get to set up the next breakout room.
I started setting it up before you finished talking, and I learned my lesson from last time. So I'm going to open up all rooms. Everyone should have one other person doing a last check.
Wait. I should.
What?
Oh, you're getting so good at this. I was like going to give you a 1-minute warning and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. He's going to type it in the chat, right?
I got to explain okay, yeah. I got to explain what we're doing next.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I was. That's how anxious I am about the rooms.
You're so good. Yeah, you're so good at this now. Everyone just go into the breakout room. There's no activity. Just do whatever you want. All right. So our next activity, our next communication activity is going to be very similar to the one we just did. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to repeat the activity we just did. But this time, instead of explaining a microwave to a cave person, you're going to explain what your job is to a 10-year-old child. Okay, you're going to explain what your job is to a 10-year-old child. So assuming we have some like software engineers, designers, and whatever else your job is. So when we go into the breakout rooms, between the two of you, figure out which one is taller. So actually like stand up a little bit, or just say how tall you are. Figure out which one's taller, and then that person is going to describe what their job is to the other person, and then the other person is going to be a 10-year-old child, okay? So a few ground rules. Again, the same guidelines apply for the 10-year-old child. So the 10-year-old child speaks English, and the 10-year-old child can choose how much they know about technology, all right? So I will let the 10-year-old child decide how much they know about technology. Because let's say, for example, you're describing your job as a designer to the 10-year-old child. The 10-year-old child might have seen mom and dad's cell phone. They might not have seen it, but I'll let the 10-year-old child can decide how much they know about technology. And it's a 10-year-old child today, all right? So it's a 10-year-old child today in 2020. So like they probably have a cell phone. They don't read books like us wholesome people used to do. Yeah, and then lastly, the 10-year-old child is well behaved. So there's no way to really monitor this. You can do whatever you want. You're in your homes. But yeah, please don't have like a tantrum and just try to like let the person describe what their job is. Any questions?
Nope.
All right, go ahead.
Rooms, commence.
I think I might have joined so late that I wasn't incorporated into a room.
I don't even know what's happening, but it's okay. Yeah, so do you know what our activity is for this? What time did you join?
I literally joined a few minutes ago. I was unable to join on my other device. I didn't have time to set up a new Zoom account and try to make a ghost Zoom account to try and be on 2 Zooms at once. And here we are. But
it's fine. So basically, this is a practice of me learning how to use breakout rooms. So it's working. It's a lot of like, I'm getting more comfortable with that. But pretty much what we've been doing, we're on our 3rd activity, and each one we get a prompt from Vandad and he types it into the Slack, and they're all to teach you something different about communication. So the first one is about listening. So you would say a statement, and then at the last letter of the whole statement, it's improv activities. The other person would have to start with that. So the first one was about listening. The second one was about, this is where I was getting a little stressed about the breakout room. So I'm doing all the logistics of it. And I don't know how to see where this account, because I have a Natalie Kuhn that's connected. I have 2 computers. One is doing something over there. And then I don't know how to see where the SDN one goes. So I'm like, I don't even know who I'm going to be paired with. So I found it funny when it got to you. I'm like, oh, well, at least we can just talk. But yeah, so each activity is a different like foundational thing. So I don't know what he's going to tell us about this one, but this activity is explaining, hello, welcome to our group of 3. You're on mute. Oh, the rooms are about to close. But this one was about explaining what you do to a 10-year-old child. And then he's going to tell us about what we should have learned. But a lot of us are just having laughs in a room. And then, so yeah, so I got to, okay, goodbye.
All right.
We'll go back to the big room now or whatever
Okay, cool.
that is. I think it's happening. It's very interesting. This is such a digital world we live in.
Yeah.
They're coming back. It's fascinating.
Hi, we're back.
Awesome.
It was so
Welcome back. So does any of the 10-year-old children want to share what jobs their partners do?
I think my partner is a service designer, although I didn't know what service meant.
What was the definition? Like, how did they describe it to you? What was the?
When my family goes to the movies, it's everything from picking the movie all the way to getting into the car at the parking lot. It's a lot of work. I said, I just go to the movies and watch the movie.
Awesome. Yeah, so you design the entire process.
Yeah.
The service designer.
Yeah.
Any other jobs? Any other?
Bianca helps the government keep my information private, so they follow the laws that the government makes.
Bianca helps you keep the government information private. So, are they a security analyst?
I don't know, but she makes decisions on buttons and things and keeps everything private. That's all I know.
She makes decisions on buttons and things. That's great. I'm going to use that. Yeah, like touches buttons at the end of the day. Bianca, do you want to comment? What your job is?
I mean, that was pretty close. I work for a company that does like privacy compliance. So we help companies follow the rules that the government makes.
Okay.
And then there's also, I am a designer, so there's lots of buttons and words and colors.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to use that lots of buttons line. That's amazing. Okay, so for the people that were describing their jobs to the 10-year-old children, how did you make it relevant and relatable? What did you compare it to? Did you, did the software designers compare it to, like, let's say a video game or to Lego or anything? Did anyone use any examples, any metaphors?
I think like now looking back, if I'm putting on my 10-year-old hat, like I might think about using examples like that are relatable to 10-year-olds, like TikTok or Instagram.
Oh yeah, for sure. You got it. Like using TikTok's a great example. A lot of 10-year-olds play Fortnite now, right? So a lot of times they compare it to Fortnite. If you have like any sort of like UX UI design or data science or software engineering job, you can just say it's like when you push the buttons in Fortnite, I help create the things that move. A lot of people do it that way. And yeah, I think what's important to remember is that inevitably throughout our careers, we will work with people that are less technical than we are, right? So the majority of the audience here being service designers or people in tech, like inevitably you will work with people that, let's say, are in legal or in HR or in other departments in the company that are less technical and that don't know as much code or that don't know as much design. So you will have to explain your job to them, right? So it's not like you don't have to treat them like a 10-year-old child, but the ability to take a very complex technical topic and make that digestible, like convert that into something that other people can understand is a very important skill. That skill, that's what really gets us to succeed in our careers, when we can explain our job very well to someone else and explain the impact that we've made to other people on the team, right? So it is very important to try to make our communication relevant and relatable, and specifically when we're speaking to people that are less technical than we are. Can you think of like any time specifically throughout like your job or the job search process that you want to have relevant or relatable communication? Anyone? Any specific events? Oh, Stephen Hawking was really good at that. Well, when we run this workshop, a lot of people tell us that it's a very good skill when you're interviewing, right? Let's say if you're going through an interview process, you're gonna have like multiple rounds of interviews, right? You'll probably have your first round of interviews with like HR, will be somewhat of a phone screen, and then your last round of interviews will be like with the head of that department, right? So you wanna have relevant and relatable questions for each person you're talking to, right? You probably don't wanna treat the head of service design like a 10-year-old child and be like, you know, it's like when you click the buttons on Fortnite and those characters move. So you just want to make sure you cater questions to the person. Cool. Any other thoughts or feelings? Awesome. Natalie, it's your time. Okay, so next we are going to do an activity. This is my favorite activity. It's my favorite communication improv exercise. All right, so this activity, it's called Yes But, Yes And, for people that might know it. Essentially, we're gonna send you back in the breakout rooms, and then this time, the person that is, let's say, the person who has longer hair will go first, right? The person who has longer hair, they will go first, and what they're going to do is they're just gonna suggest an activity for us all to do as a group. So they're going to suggest an activity for us all to do as a group. So they might be like, hey, when the world goes back to normal, we should all go to Shake Shack. All right? They're going to suggest a group activity. The other person's going to respond to that statement, but their response has to begin with the words yes, but. So their response has to begin with the words yes, but. All right? So if I was like, hey, we should all go to Shake Shack, the other person might say, yeah, but we have some vegetarians in the group. Yeah, but they have a great portobello mushroom burger. Yeah, but what if they don't eat portobello mushrooms? Yeah, but is that allowed? Are they a real vegetarian? They sound like gluten-free. All right, so you're gonna alternate back and forth, every response beginning with the words yes, but. Any questions, thoughts, feelings? All right. Natalie, if you can make this breakout room just a minute, that would be great.
Oh, I have a new challenge. All right, I'm making it just a minute.
You can do it.
And we're clapping outside. They're clapping. Yes, open all the rooms. See you in a minute. Hello. This is just me. Hi, sorry. I went over to I have two computers running here. It looks like we're gonna close the rooms though. I know you guys just joined me. But hello. We're going, okay, goodbye.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm just learning these breakout rooms.
Yeah.
And being the host, I get put in a room and I can't see where I'm gonna go. So it's an exciting moment.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then we'll refine this. This is a new online world that we live in right now. It will get better, maybe, hopefully.
I think if people are gonna like drop off, they should sign out. Maybe just
Yeah, if that's
not-
actually
not
that.
happening.
Yeah, thank you, Kate, for pointing that out. If somebody needs to drop, try to drop before I set the rooms up. Like when we you'll just drop before we start going into the rooms, and I'll make sure to do a last check. But other than that, I'm enjoying these rooms. I'm getting to see some new people. So, all right, next.
Yeah. You're not allowed to drop off. You got to wait till.
Oh yeah, sorry. You're required now.
Yeah. This is mandatory fun. We talked about it earlier.
Laugh.
Laugh.
Take yourself off mute and have a laugh, okay?
All right.
Mandatory. I like it.
Yeah, that's the best kind of fun when it's mandatory. Okay, so now we're going to repeat this exercise. All right. Mandatory, amazing. We're going to repeat this exercise. And we're just going to change one word in the response. All right, we're just going to change one word in the response. So instead of saying yes, but, we're going to say yes, and. All right, so now every response is going to begin with the words yes, and. All right, so let's say, for example, I said, hey, we should all go to Shake Shack. Yes, and we'll get burgers, shakes, and fries. Yes, and we can start a flash mob when we're waiting in line. Yes, and someone can film that flash mob, post it on YouTube. Yes, and we'll get tons of views on YouTube and make ad revenue. Yes, and we can use that ad revenue to start a startup and live happily ever after and somehow escape the quarantine, right? So you're gonna, after the first statement, every response begins with the words yes, and. Any questions, thoughts, feelings? All right, Natalie, if you can send them off.
All right, we'll see what happens. Always a surprise. Hello, Matthew. Hi. Sam, I love your background. It's so whimsical. Snow White.
You want like Frozen? Because I got you some Frozen. You want some Aladdin? I can show you the world.
You got it all.
But, like, not really. I can't show you the world.
I love Aladdin. Amazing. Oh, wow.
Oh, Titanic.
Well done. Okay, so we got everyone back, right? Everyone survived the
Whole new
breakout
virtual
room.
world is right.
You did very well, Natalie.
Oh, I'm repeating.
Okay, so in the chat, I'm curious, who found the yes, but version of this exercise easier? So who found yes, but easier? Type it in the chat. And then who found yes and easier? Type it in the chat. So type in like which version of the exercise you found easier. All right, so we're getting, all right, mostly yes and, some yes buts, okay. Well, now the yes buts are coming up. All right, so maybe a split, half and half. All right, so what are the differences?
Better vibes.
What are the differences between the two exercises? What are the differences between yes, but and yes, and? You can type them out, or you can say it if you want to unmute yourselves. So yeah, we're getting, in the chat, we're getting yes, and was a little more fun. Yes, but felt more pessimistic. Yes, and was like accepting an idea and being on their team. All right. Objections versus idea generation. Cool, cool. Yeah. So in general, like when you say yes, but, you're kind of narrowing down an idea, right? So when you say yes, but, you narrow down an idea. And then when you say yes, and, you kind of build up that idea, right? So like when you say yes, but, you're kind of like having to find something wrong with their idea. You're like, yeah, but have you thought of this one thing? So maybe you're refuting their idea a little bit. Well, yes, and, you're like, yes, and let's do this, and let's do that. You're kind of building up the idea together, right? So the way we like to view it is that yes, but is efficient, and yes, and is effective, right? So yes, but is an efficient way to kind of like narrow down an idea, maybe get to like what is realistic. While yes, and is an effective way to communicate. Yes, and is an effective way to collaborate. Yes, and is an effective way to connect with other people, right? And generally, yes, and tends to be a little bit more positive, right? So, okay, which do you think we do more of in the day? Do we do more yes, and, or yes, but? Overwhelming, yes, but. Yeah. So why do we say yes, but, right? We're all smart people. I think we're the smartest meetup out there. Why do we say yes, but? Depends if I like the thing that they're talking about, risk aversion for sure, right? We kind of care about our own ideas. Yeah, these are all true, right? So if we dig a little bit deeper, yes, but is definitely critical thinking, right? So like, yes, but you're often doing a service for the person you're speaking to. You're like, yeah, but have you thought of this one thing? Yeah, but like your plan might not work because of this, right? So it's definitely critical thinking. It's what we're taught in school. It's what we're taught in our jobs, right? What I'd like you to take away from today is that often we can say the exact same things we say with yes, but with yes, and have a more positive impression, right? We can say the exact same things we say with yes, but with yes, and have a more positive tone and actually build an idea with someone, right? So someone can say like, oh, like I have this great idea, blah, blah, blah. You can be like, yeah, but have you thought of this one thing? Or you can say, yes, and I like what you started. Have you thought of just this one thing, right? In the yes and version, you're agreeing to 90% of what they've started saying, and you're saying, let's work on that 10% together. Like, I totally understand that, like, yes, but it's safer, right? Like, it's a way to protect our own ideas. It's a way to protect our own resources. Yeah, and like, if you play yes and long enough, you often end up on the moon or in prison, or like in prison on the moon, right? So I get that, like, yes and can build too much. I still think it's a great mindset to have. I think it's a great mentality to have as we go through life, is to, when we hear an idea, to build up on that idea and to not play devil's advocate right away, right? Like the yes but people will typically like gravitate towards devil's advocate. And it's like, you don't have to play devil's advocate right away. Like, let the idea build, see where the brainstorming goes, and then we can figure out the details later. Cool, cool. Yeah, and then the last thing about this exercise is that, so it's not about the literal words, yes and, If someone was like, hey, we should go to Shake Shack, and you're like, yes, and you're an idiot. Like, that's not right. So it's not about the literal words yes and, it's about having the yes and mentality and like wanting to build up an idea before you tear it down and then seeing where things go. So like, let's say if you're in a hackathon or if you're in a brainstorming session or any sort of introductory meeting or any sort of networking event where you're meeting new people, having that yes and mentality really kind of builds that conversation up quickly. Cool, cool. Any thoughts, feelings, questions? Awesome. Well, I have one more exercise. We could do it, or if people are conscious of time, they can drop off. I'll leave that up to you, Natalie. I think we're about an hour right now, so whatever the audience prefers.
So I'm going to say I am open to the last activity. If you want to drop, if you can drop right now, and then I'll make the rooms with whoever's remaining. So I'll wait like 30 seconds for people to make a decision. Only 30 seconds, that's such a rush. But yeah, if you want to stay, please do. We'll do the last activity if you're feeling pressed for time. This is not mandatory fun. You're welcome to go.
Mandatory.
Mandatory, you have to say. So I'm just gonna wait another couple seconds.
Mandatory.
And then I'm gonna recreate. There's peer pressure, but we're on laptops, so you can't really. So I'm gonna recreate the rooms now, saying that slowly in case.
Yeah, I'll prep you. I'll prep you.
Oh yeah, and we'll get. Yeah, you let me know. I've put people into rooms, but I won't do it until you tell me to.
Awesome, thanks. Oh, Claudia, thank you so much. I guess some people from around the world staying up late. Yeah,
oh my God. Yeah, thanks, Claudia.
Thanks, Claudia.
Yeah, it is definitely mandatory fun. So you guys are all strong. I respect that. Yeah, before we get into the last exercise, I'll just give you a quick little tidbit about our company. So our company, Humor That Works, we run training programs like this in person and virtually on leadership, communications, creativity, and we do a lot of like kind of punching up events as well. So like a lot of companies will bring us in for 5-10 minutes at the start of their long, boring Zoom calls, and we'll like tell some jokes and get people in the mood just to like be able to laugh and enjoy themselves. And we also have right now a calendar of events that we're doing. So we're doing a ton of other free events like free improv nights, free stand-up shows, free storytelling nights. So if you go to our website, humorthatworks.com/calendar, we have a lot of free events in the evenings that you can just log on to. And very similar to this, it'll just be like some good fun, mandatory fun that you can laugh at and just also meet some other people in a more creative way, right? Like hopefully you're able to meet some of the people today and make some connections creatively. Cool, cool. All right, so for our last exercise, I will type it in the chat right now. This exercise here is called Make Up a Word and a Definition. So this exercise is a great exercise if you ever want to get kind of going and get the creative juices flowing for, say, a work presentation or anything you got to really think about. The way it works is when we send you in your breakout rooms, let's say the person with shorter hair will go first, all right? The person with shorter hair will go first, and what they'll do is they will make up a word that doesn't exist in any language. They will make up a word that doesn't exist in any language. So they might say vivavify. And then the other person is going to define that word. So they're going to say vivavify is when tree branches grow into giant arms and attack children. All right? So you're going to alternate back and forth, one person making up a word that doesn't exist in any language and the other person defining it. All right? So a few guidelines. These words don't exist in any language, right? So whatever the definition is correct, right? Just own it and move on to the next one. So one person makes up a word, the other person defines it, then that person makes up a word and the other person defines it. So just own it and move on to the next word. Any questions? All right, cool.
See you in the rooms. Hey, Lauren. It looks like you didn't get put in a room. So we can chat if you'd like. Oh no.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
It's
All right,
much more exciting to see the people coming back than it is leaving, I have to say.
Welcome back. Does anyone want to share their words? Anyone have a cool word? Got it. That's a cool definition. Kathleen, what was our words? We had chilala.
I actually can't remember the word. I only remember the definition.
Well,
so something something Vandad said, I said it's a tropical fruit you can only find in Southeast Asia. And then it made me hungry after I said it.
Yeah, that was an ulula. And I think chilala was a chihuahua that speaks Italian.
Yeah.
All right, so just quickly in the chat, don't type in, everyone, which did you find harder, making up the word or making up the definition? Which one was harder, making up the word or making up the definition? Making up the word, making up the word. All right. All right, so we're getting a little bit more making up the word, a little bit of the definition. All right, so for the people that found making up the word harder, what that triggers is the paradox of choice. All right, so there's a very good TED Talk by Barry Schwartz on YouTube called The Paradox of Choice. And essentially what he talks about is that when we have too much choice, it's really hard to make any sort of progress, right? So if you have too many options, it's really hard to take that first step forwards, right? So it's like this paradox where too much choice is bad, right? And yeah, if you think about it, like if you can make up any word, right? Like our brain just has no criteria, right? So in a sense, too much choice is bad. And as you're going through the creative process, just try to narrow down your choices into a moderate amount, right? So like too much choice is bad, some choice is good, and actually a little bit of structure and creativity, or a little bit of structure often helps the creative process, right? So keep that in mind that we don't want to paralyze ourselves as we're going through and trying to think of new ideas. I often think about this when I go to the grocery store. It's like now when I go to the grocery store, I wear a mask too. And when I go to the juice section, I see like my favorite juice is orange juice. So I see no pulp, some pulp, 50% pulp, 80% pulp, 100% pulp, low acid, high acid. It's like you have like 12 different kinds of orange juice. And it's like, I just want fucking orange juice. I just want one kind of orange juice, but there's too much choice, right? So keep in mind that this is a reality of our world now. And that as we're going through a creative process, to just kind of narrow down our choices to something, to a little bit of structure, and then that'll help us move forward. For the people that found making the definition harder, what that triggers is trusting our own instincts, right? So like, let's say someone makes up a made up word, right? Like when I heard Chilala, I was like, oh, you know, like it sounds like Chihuahua. And, you know, I feel like it's got like an Italian origin. So it comes from like the 18th century. So it's gotta be a Chihuahua that speaks Italian, right? Like even me, I've done this exercise so many times. I like put these kind of filters on what the definition should be. I'm like, oh yeah, like it should be from this time frame. It should be from that root. It's like, no, it's just a silly game that we're playing. It's a made up word. The definition can be whatever the heck I want, right? So as we're going through a creative process, it's all about trusting our instincts, right? So remembering that there will be times when we doubt ourselves, right? There will be times we put those filters on our thoughts. But it's important to trust our own instincts and to just try to progress and move forward, right? Like we're not trying to get perfection on the first time. We're just trying to get some progress, right? So that's why it's like you define the word, then you move on to the next word, and you define it, and you move on, right? So you're just trying to progress and then try to yes and your own ideas, right? So instead of saying, oh yeah, like it should be this, it should be that, it's about saying, okay, it could be this or it could be that. And I'm gonna yes and my own ideas. I'm gonna believe my own ideas, right? So trust your own instincts as you're going through the process. Cool. All right, so that's our last exercise. What I would love to come to as a group is that is 5 things we learned today about communications. So like 5 things we learned today about communications. You can just type them into the chat. Anything we learned today about communication, just go ahead and type them in. Yep, listen to understand as opposed to listening to respond. Power of positivity with your yes and mindset. Make your communication relevant and relatable. Asking relevant and relatable questions to get to know someone. Yes and everything. The small tube is a great metaphor. Awesome. Great. All right, so I feel like the fundatory was successful, right? I was a good teacher. Everyone's like, oh, fuck, get this guy off. He's driving me insane. Your intake's great. Well, so this was our communications workshop. As mentioned, we have a lot of other trainings that we do for corporations just to kind of help you connect humor to the work that you have to do, right? Connect humor to the work you have to do and to get you thinking a little bit differently and to enjoy it a little bit more. So our mentality is that we've actually mapped it out because we're ex-consultants, ex-engineers. We're all going to work 90,000 hours in our lifetime. We're all from the age 20 to 65. We're all going to work 90,000 hours. So that's actually more than everything that's on Netflix. Like if you watch like Tiger King, like, I don't know, 99,000 times, it's still more than that, right? So our mentality is yes, and we should enjoy it, right? We should involve a little bit of humor in the workplace to try to make the most of it. So I will pass it back off to Natalie. And yeah, she has all my contact information and all of our website and our copy. So happy to stay connected. Happy to connect with you as any way I can help you moving forward.
Yeah, there will be an email going out to everyone who signed up to attend. So, and a video of this. I don't know how the video will look with the breakout rooms, but we will do our best to get all links to you all. I know there were some requests for a couple of the organizations that I mentioned even earlier today, but you'll get a follow-up email. Make sure your meetup notifications are on. I may also duplicate and post that in the meetup event page, but look on the meetup event page and then make sure you're getting the meetup emails, and you'll get an email with a summary of links from this. We look forward as the SDN NYC group to see you again very soon. We have a couple events in the works. We'll put that on our meetup page when we're ready to share that, and you can sign up. But I really appreciate everyone's patience. For me, it felt like an experiment because I haven't personally worked with the breakout rooms, but I really appreciate Vandad guiding the way and showing us how to do all this. I learned a lot as this new online facilitation space takes shape. So thank you so much, Vandad, for joining us. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you had a laugh or two. If you had technical issues, actually please reach out to me directly. I have some questions. I want to make these better and better moving forward. So great. Thanks everyone. Yeah, the applause in sign language. Thank you guys all for coming. I kind of want to, can we take a screenshot of that actually? Keep doing that. All right. Okay, that's our selfie. Have a good evening. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Have a great night, everyone.